Many companies are losing great employees right now. I'll explain why according to some recent research and what you can do about that. Hello, I'm Stephen Goldberg of Optimus Performance, bringing you practical tips and ideas on leadership, team development, and employee performance in the workplace. People are in transition right now with a lot of options for employment, especially those with specialized skills, the knowledge workers who maybe are computer programmers, different skills that are really being sought out today. And so it's easy for people to just pick up and leave and find what they consider a better job. Now, I participated in a webinar just yesterday, which was put on by Training Magazine. They have some great webinars. I'll put a link to their website in this video. And the webinar featured a presentation by a researcher at Forrester Research, one of the world's largest research and consulting firms. And what was very interesting is they looked at the reasons why people are leaving companies, and they asked, first of all, managers for their perception, and they compared it with the feedback they got from employees. And 89% of managers said that they thought employees were leaving because of money. And yet only 12% of employees said they were leaving because of money. And the main reason employees said they were leaving was because a lack of feedback. And I talked about this in my last video, which I did on the annual employee performance review, and talked about the importance of giving feedback, and not just once a year, but regularly. And actually, feedback should be something that leaders, that managers should do on a regular basis. Whenever you see somebody doing something well, you want to recognize that and reinforce that. That makes giving negative feedback, or what is often referred to as constructive criticism, much easier to take by the employee, because there's this balance that's been created between the positive and the negative. I have other videos. I'll put links to that in the description of this video that talks about feedback. And I've talked about it a lot. Other consultants, trainers, coaches talk about that all the time, and yet it still seems to be a big issue. And so it's something that doesn't cost money to implement. You just start doing it. And yet many leaders and managers don't feel a need to do that, or they don't recognize that employees have a need for feedback, and so they just don't do it. But I think it's also linked to the makeup of the managers. I think a lot of people get promoted to management roles because they take initiative, they're responsible, they're a key player in the company, they're committed, but yet they may not have developed the people skills, and maybe aren't really interested in developing those people skills. They're more interested in just advising people, making sure that things are going the way they should be so that the performance is there, but that understanding the needs of people maybe is not developed enough, and maybe they're not interested in doing it. So it's really important that for anybody, business owner or top CEO, that you put people in place in management leadership positions that can cultivate that interest in people and can develop those leadership skills. I mean, anybody can, but you have to be interested in wanting to do that. And that's not for everybody. So I think it's becoming more important that we look at who we're promoting to management roles, and can they take on some of those skills related, the interpersonal skills, which is really what employees are looking for. Now, the other things, and I took some notes here, I'll just refer to that. The other things, besides not having feedback, which causes people to leave, is there's no or few development opportunities. So opportunities to enhance their skill set or to go further in the company, however you define that. So opportunities for growth, for development is something everybody's looking for, or at least the top employees are looking for, and you need to be cognizant of that and provide that. Feeling unrecognized is another thing. I guess that's kind of like goes along with the feedback. But you can give a lot of negative feedback, but not a lot of recognition. I guess recognition also ties into just that feeling that they're making a contribution, that what they're doing is having an impact on the department, on the company, on the clients. So feeling that what you're doing is really contributing is something that people want to get feedback on. The other thing is lack of trust. So, trust is a huge component of employee engagement. When trust breaks down, people stop caring about giving their best to the company because they feel that, they can't trust leadership to either support them or to provide what they need to grow. So it really affects all the other components of keeping people engaged. And the last thing that they talked about was people feeling overworked or burnt out. I know that because of the pandemic that we're still going through, a lot of people are adapted, or companies adapted a hybrid model. So people, are working from home, but sometimes it just creates a lot of pressure to perform and to deliver and still manage everything else. There's perhaps more distractions. So for some reason, people more and more are feeling burnt out and stressed. And it's really important that leaders keep the pulse on how people are doing and take measures if they see that people are getting too stressed or heading towards burnout. And there's signs that you could detect from people when things are getting out of control. And I know some people are more prone to burnout than others. Those that are more apt to say yes to everything that's requested of them, they could end up in a situation where they are feeling burnt out because they haven't developed that ability to say no and protect themselves from heading into a burnout or committing to doing too much. And you could tell if that's the case when you see people starting to be negligent. Those that have a tendency to burn out, and you see that they're being negligent in keeping their commitments, those are the ones that you want to embark on a conversation about. Are they taking on too much? How are they feeling? And, take necessary measures. Now, there was one other thing, I'm just bringing it up on my laptop here, put my glasses on. The top 10 engagement predictors was another thing they talked about in this webinar. And the number one thing that got people disengaged was autonomy. So people need to feel they have, or want to feel they have, the autonomy to do the work the way they feel best to do it. And I've talked a lot about this in previous videos. And what you want to do is agree with people on what they're going to deliver and by when, in what quality, and then let them do it and just support them in that. Don't tell them how you want them to do it. I know that's easy for a lot of managers who tend to, be at ease with taking control of situations, but you want to just have people, you want to allow people to do things the way they see best, as long as they deliver the performance and the quality of work that you're expecting. You just need to be there to support them, provide them with what they need to get the job done. And that's really important. They mentioned that in the webinar, especially today, for knowledge workers that not only need the technology tools, but also the collaboration from others. So you want to make sure that collaboration is there so people can actually do the work in the way they need to do it. So that's basically it. I guess the key thing is, if you take one thing out of those, which one is most important to you to work on and to deliver on? If it's giving feedback, which seems to be something that people feel they're not getting enough of, and causing them to seek a better workplace. What can you do to start, developing a habit is really what it is, of giving feedback to people on a regular basis. And you want to balance, again, I mentioned the positive and the negative. So I hope this tip is useful and that you'll act on it. All this information, whatever you learn online, is only good if you actually act on it. Just filling up your head with more information and more knowledge doesn't translate into better performance. You need to act on it. So take the time after you watch this to just think through and plan what you're going to do. You could use my goal planning worksheet. You can use the video I made recently on developing new habits based on my experience using the approach from Atomic Habits, the book that I read recently. So there's put links in the description of the video to that. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to get news of new videos. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk again soon.